Greetings, all you Jackson Jennets, and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you Steelers talk. Always sweeter after a win, and always more fun when I'm joined by Gingy and Laskers. Boys, big win this week. Well, I guess last week. Big game this week. How you feeling?
Hey, feeling good. Gingy in the house. We are looking at a dub in prime time. Always nice to see Kenny Pickett on the big stage. You know, there were ups, there were downs, but there was a time in that game, Donkey, when we went down 17-16, I believe, where typical Steeler offense could have really get through into Tao. And they answered with a very definitive drive. Very definitive
First
drive.
comeback victory, first road victory of his season, Gingy.
Beautiful.
And career,
beautiful
I guess
stuff.
I should say.
Beautiful stuff, Donkey. I loved it.
It was nice to see. Laskers, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm definitely feeling good. You know, the Mike Tomlin record and Monday night games, that's pretty impressive. 19-3.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, hey, at least you can win a game on a Monday night. You know, maybe we should only play on Monday night.
Need a little more prime time football. Gigi, the question all of Dong Nation has, though, is did you make a bet with SPL? Because please say you did, and I want to see a picture of him in a Steelers jersey.
There was nothing to be had, Donkey, but I'll tell you what, there was a big sourpuss over on his side. I mean, Matt Ryan, if that was my offense right there, Donkey, I don't know. I watched my buddy pretty much have a really hard time watching Matt Ryan try to move the football, and he shall should not be named, you know, trying to earn his name back here. But
he has a name. Time. If you listen to the bug cap, he is now James Pierre again, because while that dude lacks the athletic ability to cover wide receiver one-on-one and man coverage, he's terrible. I'll give him this. He might be the best zone coverage corner the Steelers have, which I prefer not to play zone, but hey, if we're going to play some zone schemes, why not have a guy who's really good at reading it? All I want to say is, did anyone else feel like, man, there's a big difference between a professional level coach and a high school level coach after this game? Anyone else come away with that takeaway? Because I think my wife even came away with that takeaway.
I get it. He's under a lot of scrutiny, Donkey. There was some questionable clock management in the game there, but regardless of how that played out, I don't think the clock played a role in the end of the game, and he kind of maybe lucked out on that one. But
it's not even the clock, Gingy. I want to point out the sequence. Your quarterback, who, by the way, is old and broken, just runs for 17 yards to set you up on a 3rd and short. And instead of taking the timeout to make sure you're on the right play, everyone's on the same page, and to get 2 good plays off on a first down you have to get. And at this time, timeouts don't matter because the Steelers get the ball back. It's game over for him. It's that simple. Instead of taking the timeout and making sure he's on the right thing, he goes, we were feeling it. We were doing this. We were doing that. You were feeling it. You literally just had your quarterback get sacked. The next play, he has to run for his life out of the pocket and makes a big gain. And you were feeling it. I just feel this is a dude who doesn't understand the ins and outs of playing as a coach. And I'm not saying anything because I understand. He was a great center, Hall of Fame potential there, a guy who really understood how to play from the center position. But there's a big difference between being a center and being an established coach. And he didn't just become a coordinator or positions coach. The dude jumped straight to head coach, and he just honestly, he looked out of sorts. The whole game plan for them looked pretty terrible in that first half, you have to say.
Yeah, I agree, Donkey. Didn't look that good. JT was effective when he did run the ball, but I don't think they utilized him that much. Put a lot on Matt Ryan and had to play from behind.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if you saw it last year, but it looked like a coach who realized what the Steelers' weaknesses were and then did what I complained that we do a lot. We played right into their strengths and avoided their weaknesses. It's like he was afraid to run Taylor, even though Taylor was being successful.
I agree, right? So, whoever the Bills played had the same problem because I watched that game on Thursday, right?
Yes,
and they had the same Patriots. They had the exact same. They had the exact same problem. They were running the ball good, and then they decided to abandon the run game.
Yeah, I don't understand what some coaches thinking is. I think that Saturday thing was weird, and honestly, I felt like the Steelers were playing against a high school coach, which is good because hey, sometimes you just need a confidence building win out there. How about we give a shout out to some guys who are stuck into having to step up their play this week? You're talking Najee Harris not being really effective and gets hurt, and then you see Anthony McFarland and Benny Snell Jr. get in there and do the job. I mean, McFarland looked a part of an NFL back. He was quick to the hole, hitting it over 5 yards of carry. But Benny Snell, every time he hit the hole, I mean, one cut decisive, hitting the hole, everything we want Najee to be. We see him get through, and you're like, man, it's going to be a big carry. He always got caught from behind, but at the end of the day, 5 yards of carry, the huge touchdown on that last drive right after Deontay Johnson's drop touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice to see this offensive line create some holes in the running game. I'll get into that more later. But it's really good to see a guy who I like to call Benny Snail, and he still looks like Benny Snail, get out there in the run game. Although we do also have to say, Steelers, when you're using dude as a feature back, please don't make him play kick coverage ever again, because the guy who blew the coverage on the huge kick return twice was Benny Snell. The dude, if he's playing as your starting running back, should not be on the kick coverage team. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that, Donkey. That special teams almost cost us the game.
Hashtag Fire Danny Smith is back in live action. I guess he got away with it this season because the other two units sucked. But my God, that dude's still terrible. It's all I have to say, Laskers. Still on the Fire Danny Smith train.
Harsh.
I agree.
Is it 4 years running now, Gingy? 4 years running?
You can't.
I will say this, though. Another guy who was a less talked about guy, 56-yard field goal or 59-yard field goal, don't remember the end of the half one. Big old Isaiah Loudermilk got his palm on the football. About time that big boy did something, Laskers.
Heck yeah.
Oh, you need some good special teams coverage to block some kicks and all that stuff. I mean, that's important.
That's for sure. Laskers, I want to go to you about this. Should we be concerned that George Pickens is hanging out with Deontay No Hands Johnson a little too much? As those boys both come up with some critical third down drops or drop touchdowns between them, starting to become a little bit of a concern here that these wide receivers aren't making the plays that are there to be made.
Oh, that's a big concern. You know, we got to make the plays when it's important. Important downs. Actually, screw the important downs. You got to make the plays no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. And Gingy, I want to add my last talking point from this game to you. And it's simply Kenny Pickett, probably best game as a pro this part. Steelers go 7 of 14 on third down. That's 50%. They only had 2 3-and-outs. They were both to start the third quarter. And I'll get into your little fun third quarter stat here in a minute. I actually have one for you. But you're talking time of possession, 35 minutes. Run game, 170 yards. First half, we score on 4 out of 5 drives. Ironically, the only drive we don't score on is a turnover that starts in opponent territory. The second half, we were only 1 out of 4. But it was a touchdown, the 2 3-and-outs, and there was 1 punt mixed in there. But red zone offense, 3 of 3 with 2 touchdowns to 1 field goal this week. How are you feeling about the way Kenny Pickett looked in this game with all those stats put together in this offense as a whole?
Donkey getting really pleased. Running the football is the secret sauce, man. It always has been. And when we do it 2 weeks in a row, the offense comes out, looks swell on both occasions. Now there were some stunts in that offense, and believe me, I didn't see Kenny Pickett breaking the game open. But you know what? He also didn't break it open in a bad way either. Okay, and I like that about that guy. He's fairly conservative. Uses his legs when he needs to, throws the ball away when he needs to. There were a couple of opportunities there. Pickens, man, I don't know, Donkey, you can tell me whether I'm being overly critical or not. He dropped one in the end zone where it looked like, to me, like he was a little lackadaisical with getting 2 hands on the football.
He was trying to highlight
real
business. Circus catch. Yes, sir, I agree.
Oh, boy, and that rubs me the wrong way.
The reason you're going to know this is Ben Roethlisberger is very slow to call out wide receivers. He's even been slow to do it this year on dropped passes that led to interceptions. Even your boy Ben in his podcast calls out George Pickens for not going to catch that ball because Ben says that's a catch you have to make. You want to be a good receiver, you're going to make it. And it is. The thing is, though, George Pickens has this, he wants to be a highlight reel guy. If he just turns his body, jumps, catches it with two hands, and lands on his back, easy touchdown. He wanted to stay on his feet and make that one-handed I'm on ESPN catch. That's who he is. That's something, as a Steelers fan, you're going to have to deal with because those highlight catches, you want to know why he makes them? Because he puts himself in position to do it. So it's something you have to deal with. It's not going to get easier. It's just like with Antonio Brown, you had to deal with him wanting the football, right? It's the same idea. More concerning to me, Gingy, was Deontay Johnson, both hands on the football in the end zone and forgot it. That reminds me of 2 years ago, Deontay, who didn't deserve this big contract he's gotten. However, It seems like Deontay might be a leader among the receiving corps. He did go to George Pickens after the drop, console him, and Pickens seemed to really enjoy that.
Well, there is some cause for some concern there for me, thinking that we were so deep at wide receiver. And listen, these guys have talent. They performed. We got the dub. That's great. But if you're looking for some things that might be a little bit concerning long term in that unit, those type of issues you got to grow out of. But again, still he did redeem himself. Made a great catch later on. Good performance overall. Kenny Pickett. Again, didn't blow me away, didn't win the game outright, but didn't lose it either. Team effort. That's what this young team needs.
I feel he did win this game outright. You look at those drives, they were set up by Pickett either running the ball or making good throws, and especially when you consider the wide receivers let him down on those first 2 3-and-outs in the third quarter. We get to the end of the third going into the fourth. We just lost the lead. Kenny Pickett steps up, leads a scoring drive that should have been a touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson. He drops it. Kenny Pickett then is convinced we need to do this read option play with Benny Snell. Everyone even says, Kenny convinced the coaches this is the play we need to run. And that's the play that gets the game-winning touchdown. Now you're up 5. We go for 2, and he throws just a laser beam to George Pickens, who does a great job working the back line of the end zone on the 2-point conversion to get it.
Shook that guy bad.
That is what a leader does. To me, that's what Kenny Pickett needed, because everyone's always said they'll follow him. They love him. You knew from day one in camp he should have been the starter over Mitchell Trubisky. Anyone who watched the Steelers in camp or in preseason knew that. I don't know how we would be sitting right now if we started him day one instead of throwing him to the Wolves in his first game at Buffalo. But the fact is he's there now. He's showing that development. He's showing that chemistry. This is everything you could want out of Kenny Pickett, I feel. Because these last 3 games, Gingy, since the bye, he's doing exactly what you said he needs to start doing as a rookie. He's protecting that football.
Yep, I don't deny it, Donkey. I can agree with you on that. Like, there were some great throws in there. A couple big third downs. We smacked the heck out of the Colts on third down conversion. Colts have been rough on third down all year, I think, but we did a good job. I think we were at or above 50%.
They were 3 of 12 on defense. If that's what you're saying, we were 7 of 14, so we were right at 50% of converting.
Yeah, that's
which way you want to go.
To be at. That's how you get the dub too, and getting a couple turnovers in there. Relatively quiet game from TJ, but still
relatively quiet game from all the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really non-powerhouse offense that didn't score 20, so they did what they were supposed to, but good team victory.
The one thing I will say is, while we're judging this offense, remember that is the most amount of points the Colts have allowed at home this year, 24. I believe that's more points than Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs put up against the Colts, along with a couple other good quarterbacks. So that team was out there. Offense did its job. Defense, you keep a team under 20, that's a good game. I don't care how you want to look at it. I don't feel like anyone stood out, but I don't feel like anyone stood out in a bad way. I mean, James Pierre got his name back, makes the big play on special teams. It ends up leading to a touchdown anyway, of actually stopping that kicker return from being a touchdown. He makes the big interception early in the game. He does get beat for the touchdown pass, but like I said, dude struggles in man coverage. Always going to be a thing with him. The last closing thought I guess we need to have is what everybody's, I don't know what you want to call it. We'll get to the Gingy differential, I guess. Gingy, what was the game-changing point for you in this one?
Game-changing point, something I mentioned in the explanation of the offense, is the Steelers went down on the road 17-16. They came out and they had a poor drive before that. Momentum had completely shifted. Would have been really easy for an offense that was been struggling most of the season to go 3 and out, lay an egg, and begin the demise of that game. Kenny Pickett not only came back, had a definitive long drive, come back and not 3-7, just didn't take the lead, took it back definitively, scored 2 points. That right there is your Gingy differential.
I love it. Laskers, any closing thoughts on this game?
I don't have any, but the Jags scored 3 more points than the Steelers in Colts territory at 20. They get scored 27. They lost the game, but they scored 3 more points.
That's not fair. The Jaguars always beat the Colts. Well, I guess that's at Jacksonville technically. But I think, to me, the biggest takeaway from this game is, and the thing for the season for me is, everyone wants to judge Kenny Pickett versus Ben Roethlisberger, but I want you to remember this fact. I think it was year 3 before Ben Roethlisberger won a football game throwing the ball 30 frickin' times. The Steelers need to commit to letting Kenny Pickett grow, develop, and once he's developed, then start taking the plays over, rather than having to be a playmaker from day one. Since the bye week, we've done a lot better of it, and when you look at it, since the bye week, we should have won all 3 football games if you base it off offensive performance. The defense just didn't show up one week. That happens. Now, before we get into the Atlanta game, I have some fun season-long Steelers stats for you. One, Gingy's 100% right on this. I believe he was texting and said, the Steelers are absolutely flat when it comes to third quarters. Hey, Gingy, I got some stats for you. First quarter, Steelers are outscored 59-40. That's minus 19. Second quarter, outscored 87-79, minus 8. But our best quarter offensively. Third quarter, outscored 52-19, minus 33. Only 19 points in the whole third quarter. And the only touchdown was the game where we put Kenny Pickett in at halftime and the Jets had no idea what was coming. Fourth quarter, we're outscored 53-63, only minus 10. But we do win one quarter this year. We're 3-0 in overtime in our point differential. So at least we win the extra period of time, but negative in all quarters. And Gingy, you want to talk about flat at halftime? I mean, sure, it's the least amount of points we allow, so maybe the defense isn't as flat at halftime, but that offense only 19 points in what is now, 11 games? That's less than 2 a game through the whole third quarter this year. That's something for you. And a really good catch on your part there.
Is that coaching? Why are we coming out after the break flat?
It is coaching because when you think about it, the biggest adjustments in the game are made at halftime. That means when our coaches make adjustments, if they even make adjustments, because the way Matt Canada talks, I don't know if he ever adjusts anything. The adjustments they're making clearly aren't working. I mean, you just look at it. The proof's in the pudding. There's no offensive touchdowns except for when our adjustment was to switch quarterbacks. Outside of that, we've kicked, 4 field goals in the second or the third quarter of games? That's unacceptable football. But Gingy,
I've even said that switch quarterback, switch quarterback, I think is when Kenny got hurt.
No. It was Kenny coming in the Jets game.
Okay.
Only offensive touchdown we have in the third quarter is when Kenny came in the Jets game. Mitch's touchdown was in the fourth quarter, just like Kenny's touchdown this week was maybe third quarter into fourth quarter. But Gingy, there's something I said, and I want to know if you remember. What have I been telling you is the most important thing for the Steelers this year?
What's that, donkey?
Winning the first quarter. Here's something I'm going to tell you. The Pittsburgh Steelers, when they leave the first quarter with a lead, are 4-0. They have not lost a game when they were leading after the first quarter. Since week 1 in Cincy, they were leading 10-3. Tampa Bay, they were up 7-3. New Orleans was 7-0 and 3-0 this week at Indy. The other time we were even close was the Philly game. We were tied 7-7. But we all know how that one ended up. But the Steelers win the first quarter. They tend to win the game. And it seems to be because when the Steelers win the first quarter, they're allowed to stay on their schedule. And what their schedule is this year, 113.6 running yards a game. That is the most from a Pittsburgh Steelers team since 2011. It's been a decade since we've seen that. I mean, hell, it's been 5 years since we've seen the team average 100 yards a game. If they keep up that pace, it's amazing. But since the bye week, Gingy, we're even better running the ball. You're talking 34 totes a game to the tune of 163 yards and 2 touchdowns is the average since the bye week. It is clear what this team needs to do to be successful going forward, and that's run the ball. And all those stats make you see it all together. I mean, last year's already mentioned Tomlin's record on Monday Night Football. I had that going. And what's your guys' take on all 13 defenders who took part of the group celebration after James Pierre's interception? Every single one of them getting fined by the No Fun League. You guys have any takes on that?
It is a no fun league.
No takes.
Gingy, you think the future of this Steelers football team is running the ball?
Absolutely. Future. I don't know. You know me, Donkey. I'm old school. I think the future of football ought to be running the football. All right. We're missing a lot of that. All right. With all the passing and the things. But I still think that, establishing that run game especially helps out a young quarterback like Kenny in the situation. And he's still learning. He's still developing. He clearly has some good understanding, but he needs some experience reading defenses.
Mm-hmm.
He can get baited by a veteran guy.
The thing I like, and it was broken down by some good former quarterbacks. You're talking Chris Sims broke it down, Ryan Clark's broke it down. That's a defender, but even Kurt Warner's broke down his play. And the thing is, you see the arm strength to make the throws, but what they've all talked about is you don't see Kenny Pickett seeming to make the same mistake repetitively, which is a huge thing in the growth of a young quarterback, is learning from the mistakes you're going to make. And if you've never heard Kurt Warner break down a quarterback, you're missing out. Kurt Warner is probably the best person to watch breakdown quarterbacks. If you're ever curious to watch a pre-draft quarterback breakdown, and you're curious if you like this guy, just go turn on Kurt Warner's little YouTube show and give yourself a watch, because it's, you know what? The dude's a smart dude. Can't believe that it took him forever to get into the league and make himself a successful man, because that dude gets football. That's all I have to say on that note. Anything you guys want to say before we get to the breakdown of the Atlanta game?
No, I'm ready.
All right. Let's go. Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Steelers all-time 14-2-1 against the Atlanta Falcons, a 7-0-1 at home. And, of course, we're playing on the road in the turf, in the dome, in the perfect condition, where the Steelers are 7-2. Largest win ever in the series was Pittsburgh, a 28-point win, a 45-17 in 1993. Atlanta won a game by 11 in 1970. 27-16. The largest streak is the Steelers won 9 straight from 74 to 99. Atlanta won 1 straight 2 different times. You can pick whichever win you want for their longest streak. Current streak is the Steelers have won 3 straight, including the last meeting in 2018, 41-17, before our Roethlisberger injury.
Oof.
You get into that, Atlanta's more breakdown. Offensively, they're 14th in points, 28th in yards, 31st in pass yards, but pretty good running the ball as they rank 4th in the league, and 24th in time in possession at about 29.5 a game. Defensively, they're 25th in points, 28 in yards, 28 in pass yards allowed, 21st in rush yards allowed. A defense that really doesn't stop much. You look out there, you have Jarrett with 5.5 sacks, and then a bunch of people that I honestly had to look up if any of them should be spectacular, because I don't know any of the names on that defense, because it's not a very good unit there in Atlanta. That's a spot the Steelers can exploit. Offensively, they have Drake London, their first-round pick. Kyle Pitts, the big first-round tight end's out. They have Zacchaeus, who's a little speedy wide receiver who has about 400 yards. And then they have a 3-headed monster running the ball, an Allgaier converted wide receiver Cordero Patterson, maybe best kick returner in football history. Him or Devin Hester, maybe Deion Sanders in the list. And then you have Mariota, who has about 500 yards rushing as a running quarterback. Gingy, running quarterbacks can kill the Steelers. They have decent tackles out there in McGarry and Matthews, both former first-round picks. What you looking for when Atlanta's on offense? The Steelers are on defense.
I am looking for pressure on the quarterback. Stop in the run game, though. You said 4th on the run game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that doesn't open up a little bit more for them. What does 4th rank you? Like $1.60 a game? $1.65, I wonder? Probably somewhere in that area. That's a lot, Donkey. You're going to have to be containing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Containing that.
And it's not just one guy either. I think that's what makes it hard. Mariota, one of the better running quarterbacks, though he doesn't get as much talk as some of the other guys out there. But Laskers, what are you looking for the Steelers on defense against an Atlanta team that's really more focused on running the ball than passing it? Do we lose Laskers?
My thing's been disconnecting the whole time. I don't understand it.
Technical difficulties.
And it's exactly at $1.60 a game, Gingy, to answer your question.
That's funny. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So if
Laskers be able to get Lasker's take,
come back with us, give us his take here. Hopefully he's there. Laskers,
I'm here.
All right, give us your take on Steelers on defense.
We get some injuries that are, a little rough. Minka's still questionable, and so's Akilla Witherspoon.
He's done. He's on IR. We just brought. Oh, breaking news! Steelers. Marvin Leal activated from the IR. Akilla Witherspoon to the IR. So we don't have to worry about that one, Laskers. He ain't playing for 4 games. Not like he's played much this whole year anyway. But Leal back out there could be a huge boost to that defensive line.
Yeah, I agree. So the funny thing is, Cordella Patterson, who you guys were talking about a little bit earlier, is he was did not practice, but because he was a non-injury related resting.
That they're doing that because he had an injury earlier in the year, and they've been doing that to work him back. Just like we probably did it with TJ when he first came back, and I know we did it a lot last year with Roethlisberger and Cam Hayward. I still think we do it this year with Cam Hayward. You just give the veteran guys who have mileage a day off. So nothing to see there. But if you want to talk the injury report, Laskers, there's something really funny to me. Jaylen Warren practices every day, right? Full participant every day. He's questionable for it.
Yep.
Najee Harris misses practice, comes back as limited as all he gets to be. He holds no injury designation for the game. I thought that to be a little odd. The full participant is questionable. The limited guy is good to go.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And just to go with what you're saying about Cam Hayward, is non-injury related coach's decision.
Yep. That's the nice way of saying it. He's old and we're giving him time off. And I don't really read much into that because honestly, the only person I'm concerned about if you give a day off for rest is the quarterback, and that's because the quarterback just has to be in sync with the wide receivers. I think practice time is important. If you have an older offensive or defensive lineman, give those guys a day off every time because their dang bodies could use a break. I personally don't know how you handle hitting a 300-pound person opposite you 60 times a day for your living, but those guys do it. Kudos to them. Let's get to the offensive side of the ball. Laskers, what are you looking for from the Steelers offense when they're playing the very Atlanta defense, but an Atlanta team that's right in the division hunt for right now since the AFC South is terrible?
I'm looking for 100 yards from the rushing team. I don't care who it is. We need 100 yards.
Kenny Pickett.
Okay. Wow, that'd be exciting. That'd be an exciting Steeler football right there. 100 yards from Pickett. Yikes.
Hey, he had
32 last. He had 32 last week.
I mean, I think he's getting close to catching Ben Roethlisberger's career rushing total right now. But Gingy,
it wouldn't surprise me.
What you looking for?
What I'm looking for, disciplined, consistent play. More of what we've seen the last few weeks. We got to keep it up on the rushing. I do believe that we're getting, like you said, we're getting Warren back this week.
Should be.
Coming back from a hamstring. That should be a significant boost. I'd like to see, 174 versus the Colts? Something big.
Give me 1 second. I have that written exactly. Yeah, 172. Since the bye week, we've rushed for 217, 102, and 172. Only common denominator, 2 rushing touchdowns in each of the games.
Absolutely. We need to keep that pace up, limit the turnovers. And one thing, I'd like to see some disciplined wide receiver play. Donkey, that's going to be key for me. We got some last week, saw some good things from Muth, had a couple good catches, but then there were some things that were left to be desired that we spoke about earlier.
Would one of
here and
those
there.
be Deontay Johnson again catching the ball, having what would be
Drops
a
here
first
and there.
down if he cuts the ball upfield and just runs another 27
Oh,
yards
I'm
vertical
definitely
or
sick of him running
sideways?
backwards. I'm definitely sick of him running backwards on whenever he touches the ball. Yeah.
He
Done with
seems to
that.
think he's like that elusive guy. It's like, bro, no, you're not. You're quick. You're skittish. You get open, and then cut the damn ball upfield. You're like, remember the whole first half of the year before the bye week when I was just getting mad at Najee because all he did was dance, dude. Someone on the Steelers' offensive coaching staff needs to teach these boys how to just hit a hole and hit it hard. They should all take the Benny Snell football practice, okay? All learn how to see the field, all learn how to make one cut and run north and south.
So Kenny needs about 300 more yards to pass Ben Roethlisberger.
Her career rushing, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a thing I didn't think was a real look at. For me on the offense, it's going to be big plays because this Atlanta team's susceptible to big plays. The Steelers have to hit them because that's how you keep a team honest and make it. Say what you want. The big difference at the bye week was the Steelers being willing to commit to the run game, but not only that, it was Kenny Pickett in each of those games is starting to hit those 20-plus yard throws down the field that open up the running game. So this is a two-part attack. Even if Kenny doesn't throw for touchdowns, he needs to hit those splash plays that keep the defense honest, keep them off the back of the field. And Matt Canada needs to let him audible because I don't know if you guys saw it, but I definitely texted to you. That single high safety, that means you have one-on-one coverage on the outside. You see that single high safety, let it fly. The time we did it led to a big play to Pickens and a touchdown for the Steelers. Every time we see single high, you should let it fly. That's what made Ben such a great quarterback early in his career. And if Matt Canada lets Kenny Pickett get a hot read into that, that can be what makes Kenny Pickett a great quarterback early in his career. Mm-hmm. Not going to say legendary, but he's shown the ability to be a great, as Terry Bradshaw said it, an elite B-tier quarterback, right?
Harsh, but possible.
I'm going to correct myself. I was looking at the number of times Ben rushed.
I thought he had to be near 1,000 in his career. Right?
He is 1373. If Kenny Pickett rushes for 10 more yards, he will pass Ben's single season record, which was 204. And Kenny currently has 195.
Not bad for what? 8 starts? 6 starts? 7 starts?
Not bad.
7 starts.
There we go. I knew I'd get there eventually. Gotta walk it in terms of the accuracy there. Special teams could be a huge difference maker in this game. I mean, you're talking Atlanta has 2 good return guys there in Zacchaeus and Cordero Patterson. I mean, we know our kick coverage sucks. Maybe Matthew Wright should just kick the ball out of bounds. I have no idea. Presley Harvin's been punting the ball better, but honestly, he's been punting the ball less. So let's keep that trend up. Do you guys see special teams making a difference in this game?
Special teams can make a difference in any game, though. Yeah, as you saw last week, a handily held game was turned around by an 89-yard return. Turned on its head, donkey. It can happen anytime, for you or against you, right?
That's
as we saw with the Colts trying to sneak in some extra there and getting a big louder milk paw right to the football.
That they did. Laskers.
Special teams need to show up. I mean, we just need big stops to prevent them from being able to score. I mean, we all saw the thing where they ran 98 yards in a game, and 87, whatever the hell it was. We can't allow that again.
I agree with you there. Any closing thoughts before we get into predictions from you two on the Atlanta Falcons Steelers game?
Let's contain them on offense. You said they don't have much of a passing game. Let's keep it that way. Nothing extra.
Laskers, any closing thoughts?
Just gotta stop them, and it really sucks when I miss half your conversation because my thing decides it doesn't want to listen to half of it.
Damn.
Oh yeah, it was really good too when I had the packet loss problems before finding a new way to fix the audio, and that's how the whole dang show was. So the whole audience got what Laskers was experiencing, unfortunately, here. Let's start off with the Cleveland-Houston game. Browns going to Texans. Deshaun Watson making his awaited debut while he has some accusers in the stands. How are you feeling Deshaun's going to do in his first game in almost 2 years, Gingy?
Here we go, Texans.
Boy,
Here we
I was
go.
gonna say, give me the Texans. Give me the Texans on this one. I don't. First game in 2 years. Me as a freaking is a Yinzer, right? The only thing I think of is seeing people sit, right. Le'Veon Bell, players that sit. I don't
I'm going
see them
20
always come back the same.
I'm going
It's true.
21-7 Texans with Chubb getting the only touchdown for the Browns.
Yikes!
I really want the Texans to win this game. I really hope nothing but bad things for Deshaun Watson playing the football game in terms of results, but you're not going to get me to pick that Texans team. That Texans team's uninspired and doesn't want to win. So I got to take the Browns here. I think Nick Chubb by himself without a quarterback could beat the Houston Texans defense. So I got to take the Browns on that one. We got the Broncos, the fierce Russell Wilson-led worst offensive football, taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Who you guys got in this game? Laskers, you want to go first? Laskers, Baltimore, Denver. Who you got?
I got Baltimore by 14.
Gingy.
Man, them Broncos team, that's rough with Russell Wilson out there. It's cringeworthy. It's painful. I hope they get it back on track. I'm taking the Ravens.
I too like the Ratbirds, mainly because Denver's defense isn't the same since they traded Chubb, and they only traded Chubb because Russell Wilson can't get things done. But it's okay. What is his saying since he got there? Let's ride, right? Yeah, I'm riding with Lamar Jackson in this one. Let's get down to the fun game. Kansas City Chiefs going to Cincinnati Bengals. I believe Jamar Chase is going to be back for this one, first game back. I also believe that Joe Mixon was trending towards playing this week. Who you guys got in a pretty big game in terms of the AFC right now with the Bengals trending upwards and the Chiefs trying to hold on to that number one spot?
Give me Chiefs.
I got Chiefs too.
All right. Got to make up some ground. I already got one pick against y'all. Let's make it two again. I like the Bengals. I like Jamar Chase showing out. And I think the Bengals defense is just a little bit better than the Chiefs. And I think that'll be the difference. And something that's going to be what, like 43-41? Somewhere in that range with these two high potent offenses. Which means it's going to be 15-12 at the end of the day. But hey, I'd prefer the fireworks because I think I actually get to watch this game on TV. So I'd like to see lots and lots of points.
Nice.
And that leads us, last game, Laskers lead us off Steelers-Falcons. Score, X Factor. Laskers, you cut out again. Try to save yourself.
I did. I 100% cut out. What's the question?
Falcons, Steelers. Score, X Factor.
Steelers 21, Falcons 14. X Factor TJ.
Nice. Gingy, same question.
I am looking at Steelers 27, Falcons 17, X Factor going to be, oh boy, give me Deontay Johnson.
I like it. I got the same point differential as you, Gingy. I like the Steelers 30-20, time for that dreaded explosion term that we have to say every time we say 30 points.
Explosion. I love it. I love it.
For me, the X factor is going to be, should it be an offensive guy? Should it be a defensive guy? It's clearly going to be Pat Freiermuth showing the boys how to catch a football this week.
I like it.
That's my take. I guess it's time for shout-outs. It's a win, so Gingy has a shout-out, but since Lasker needs a lifesaver every now and then because his poor Mike's having a day, we'll try to start there. Laskers.
I don't think it's my mic. I think it's my internet because the internet went out earlier today and now it's all screwed up.
All right, we had to cut out. Gingy, we'll try to get back to Laskers.
Oh, yeah. I'll have a shout-out this week. Shout-out to them boys getting a big dub in prime time. Shout-out to Kenny Pickett. I know it's cheesy, donkey, cliche, right? Shout out to starting quarterback. All right, young man, under the lights, prime time. That's the real deal. Coming from behind on the road. I know. Now, granted, I saw that there were a boatload of Steelers fans that traveled to that Colts Indianapolis, right? So it almost was, it wasn't a true. I mean, yes, it was a true road game, but Steelers fans traveled great. But fantastic job to Kenny Pickett. That right there, donkey, for me, was another notch in the right direction of being the guy.
Yep.
Right? Yep. We're talking about these picks, these wins, or whatever. That's another step in the right direction to being the long-term guy. Shout out Kenny Pickett.
Making a big comeback from behind. Laskers, are you ready to give it a second try? Third try? Whatever.
Well, the funny thing is my shout out was Kenny Pickett, but it was because of the 5.3 rushing yards.
Nice. There was a lot of guys having good rushing yards.
Excellent.
My shout-out this week is going to be a four-pronged guy who made all the plays, in my opinion. Not really, but it's got to be a shout-out to one. I forgot to mention that all during the bug cap that Loudermilk was a block field goal. He's got to get part of it. Chris Wormley stealing that ball away from Matt Ryan at the fumble at the 1-yard line. Huge play in the Steelers game.
Huge play. Forgot about that.
And then the shout-out's got to go.
Play.
We had two running backs who haven't touched the ball all year come out and put up over 5 yards a carry. That's Benny Snell Jr., that's Anthony McFarland. There has to be something said about that. Those guys came in, they played decisive, they played hungry. Gotta give a shout out. I love to see it when do you want to talk about cliche, Gingy? The Mike Tomlin, next man up. The standard is the standard, bull pucky. It got done this week. Say what you want, it got done this week. James Pierre as well in that conversation. Shout out to him for earning his name back. I had to make sure I end on that one. And now it's time. I gotta let you know. I'm the Viking Donkey. It's Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of Donkey with Ginger is the YouTube channel. We're thinking about changing the name, but getting some pushback on the other end over there. Just kidding, Gingy. But Donkey's right. Just saying. I have nothing else to say on that. Laskers, what's up?
Laskers everywhere.
Wow. I don't know what you're talking about over there, Donkey, but you better get your ass locked in. We got Steelers football tomorrow, baby. Steelers Nation, Jackson Jennings, get hyped up. Wave them if you got them. Here we go, Steelers.